Who is Emmanuel in the Bible? Who is Emmanuel in the Bible? Emmanuel is a significant figure mentioned in the Bible, particularly in the Old and New Testaments. This name, which translates to God is with us, holds great importance in Christianity as it is associated with the prophecy of the birth of Jesus Christ. Understanding who Emmanuel is in the biblical context provides insight into the prophecies surrounding Jesus' life and his role as the Savior of humanity. Who is James in the Bible? The prophecy of Emmanuel can be found in the book of Isaiah in the Old Testament, where God promised that a virgin would bear a child, and his name would be Emmanuel. This prophecy is oftentimes interpreted as the prediction of the birth of Jesus Christ, who came to save humankind from sin. In the New Testament, the Gospel of Matthew refers to Emmanuel as a fulfillment of the prophecy, emphasizing Jesus' divine role in Christianity. Key takeaways: Emmanuel, meaning God is with us, is a figure in the Bible associated with the prophecy of Jesus Christ's birth. The prophecy of Emmanuel is found in the book of Isaiah and is believed to predict the coming of Jesus as the Savior. In Christianity, Emmanuel represents the divine presence of Jesus Christ and his role in the salvation of humanity. The name Emmanuel directly translates to God with us in Hebrew. The prophecy stated that before the child Emmanuel was old enough to know right from wrong, the lands of the two kings threatening Judah would be laid waste. This sign was meant to comfort King Ahaz of Judah and assure him that God would protect the nation. Christians believe the prophecy was fulfilled through the virgin birth of Jesus to mar why Jesus took on the human name Emmanuel or Emmanuel at his conception by being born of a virgin. As Emmanuel, Jesus was understood to be both fully God and fully human, God coming to dwell among his people in the flesh. His name demonstrated that God was personally present with humanity in the person of Jesus Christ. Through his life, death and resurrection, Jesus fulfilled the meaning of Emmanuel by reconciling God and humanity. Christians see Jesus as the ultimate fulfillment of the Emmanuel prophecy, bringing the divine presence to dwell permanently with humankind. Role in Isaiah. Emmanuel, also spelled as Emmanuel, is a name that appears in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the book of Isaiah. The name means God is with us and is a key symbol in understanding the relationship between God and the people of Israel. In Isaiah 7:14, the prophet Isaiah speaks to King Ahaz of Judah about a sign that will be given to them by God. This sign is the birth of a son to a young woman, and this child shall be called Emmanuel. The birth of this child is a confirmation of God's presence and protection amidst the political turmoil faced during King Ahaz's reign. In the context of Isaiah's prophecy, Emmanuel represents hope and reassurance for the people of Israel that God remains with them during difficult times. The prophecy also ties Emmanuel to the Davidic lineage of kings, as Ahaz was a descendant of King David. Role in Matthew. The Gospel of Matthew in the New Testament presents Emmanuel as an important title for Jesus Christ. In Matthew 1:23, the prophecy from Isaiah 7:14 is referenced and applied specifically to Jesus, suggesting that he is the embodiment of God with us. According to the Gospel, an angel instructed Joseph to name the baby Jesus and explain that he shall be called Emmanuel as well. This establishes a connection between Jesus and the Old Testament prophecy, positioning him as a fulfillment of Isaiah's words. Throughout the Gospel, the presence of Jesus as Emmanuel is emphasized in many ways, such as the miracles he performed and the teachings he provided. In the book of Matthew, Jesus' role as Emmanuel signifies the peak of God's presence among his people, exemplifying the ultimate expression of divine love and connection. By linking Jesus to the Emmanuel prophecy, the Gospel of Matthew showcases the significance of his birth and mission, highlighting that Jesus Christ is the anticipated Emmanuel, the manifestation of God's presence on earth. This connection further reaffirms the belief in the divinity of Christ and the special bond between God and his people. Understanding the prophecy of Emmanuel comes from Isaiah 7:10-16. In this passage, the prophet Isaiah is speaking to King Ahaz of Judah during a time when the kingdom was threatened by enemies. Isaiah prophesies that God would give Ahaz a sign, which was that a young woman would conceive and bear a son, and name him Emmanuel. Significance of the virgin birth. The significance of the virgin birth prophecy is that Emmanuel would be born of a virgin, which Christians understand is fulfilled by the birth of Jesus to the Virgin Mary. This signified that Jesus was divine as well as human. Here is a table comparing the importance of the prophecy of Emmanuel to Jews versus its fulfillment in Jesus. Importance to Jews. Fulfillment in Jesus provided assurance that God would deliver Judah from its enemies through a promised sign. Christians believe Jesus fulfilled the prophecy by being born of a virgin as the incarnate God who dwelt among humanity. Signified God's ongoing presence would be with the people of Judah for protection and deliverance. Through his life and ministry, Jesus demonstrated God's loving presence and salvation for all people, not just the Jews. Prophecy focused on near-term deliverance of Judah from Syrian and Israelite invasion. Jesus' life, death and resurrection achieved the ultimate and eternal deliverance of humankind from sin and death. Name Emmanuel meant God would be with his people in their earthly land of Judah. Emmanuel took on a broader meaning as God being with and saving all nations through Jesus, not just the Jews in their homeland. Temporal significance for assurance during a specific military threat. Eternal theological significance as God incarnate in the person of Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us forever. Prophecy had conditional nature based on response of Judah's king. Fulfillment in Jesus was not conditional but established God's unconditional love and salvation for all. Significance for Jews was national and political deliverance. Significance through Jesus is personal salvation, reconciliation with God for all people regardless of ethnicity or nation. King Ahaz and the sign. King Ahaz did not believe the prophecy and did not want a sign from God, but Isaiah gave the prophecy anyway, telling Ahaz that God himself would give the sign, that a virgin would conceive. This sign was meant to comfort Ahaz and assure him that God would protect Judah. Omen and hope. The prophecy of Emmanuel brought both an omen, warning to enemies, and hope, assurance for Judah. It warned that God would defeat Ahaz's enemies, but also assured the people that God would be with them as Emmanuel, whose name means God with us. The meaning and interpretation of Emmanuel. Emmanuel literally means God with us in Hebrew. Christians interpret this name, given to Jesus, as signifying his divine nature as fully God and fully human, that God was with his people in the person of Jesus. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.